In this instructional video, we're going to learn how to use Photoshop. That's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud, a version from 2015, to design a really simple typographical book specimen page, which is geared towards highlighting a particular font. In this case, it's a classical Garamond font, which is part of the old style. Was designed back in the 16th century by Claude Garamond, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some of the basic steps that one needs to go through in Photoshop to be able to make this happen. So the first step to creating this typographical specimen book page is to put all the elements, all the ingredients on different layers within Photoshop, which I'm going to have to show you how to do. And the first part is A through Z, all uppercase. We want to showcase all the uppercase letter forms, the complete alphabet of Garamond. And then from there, all of the lowercase letters, and then all the numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then also, you've got to include a little block, typographical block, that sort of outlines the history of the font you chose. And if you go for it, obtain it off the web, try to bring it in and make it into plain text and edit it down so it's short and concise. Also, the name of the font, in this case is Garamond, and then the designer of the font, Claude Garamond, and the date. So designed in the 16th century. And then you want to extract an important quote. The quote that you extract can come from the historical overview or something you basically locate on Google. So in this case, it's a typeface that always remains professional with quite a clean, sharp appearance. And then at the very bottom, you need to include your name, the name of the design, typographical specimen page, Adobe Photoshop CC, and then the date that you designed it. All right, let's get started. As we design and compose all of these elements, I'm hopefully going to give you a better idea and a better understanding on Photoshop. So for a quick review, right now we're going to go all the way up top to the options bar. Everything up top here, we have all these different options. File, edit, image, layer type, select, filter, 3D, view, window. Over here we have our toolbox, quite a few tools, including these little color swatches at the bottom. For this project, we'll be basically using type, T for type, which is all the way down here on the ladder, and then the move tool. And then over here we have different frames that we can put together in different ways. So we're going to go to Window and choose a workspace. In this case, we'll just stay with the default, which is Essentials. Click on Essentials. Now we have to create a new document. So we'll go to File, all the way up top to the options, click on New. And then we have this little gray box, and we need to change a few settings. So I'm just going to give it a title, call it Type Design, where there's the name. We don't have to worry about document type, because we're going to do a standard. And then the width and the height, right now they're in pixels by default. I'm going to click and change them to inches. So 8.5 inches wide, 11 inches tall, standard type sheet. And then for pixels per inch, the resolution, which is measured in pixels per inch, we want to change that from 72 to 300 because we're going to print this out. And then we can actually, if you do have it in RGB, you can put it in grayscale, since this project will be all in grayscale. And then background, you can leave white. I mean, the background you can, if you want to do, you could have a color, make it transparent, but in this case, we're going to leave it as white. And then for the advanced stuff, we'll leave that as is. When you get all those settings done, you'll notice your file size is 8 megabytes, 8.03. We're going to click OK. And then all of a sudden we're going to have this canvas. See up here it says Type Design. We can zoom in, we can zoom out, and then we're going to go and we're going to save it. So I'm going to save it on my desktop, in this case, Type Design. And I'm going to make sure it's a Photoshop PSD, which is at the very top. So you'll have file name and then save type. Next to save type, you want to make sure you choose the appropriate extension, file type. And the native file format for Photoshop is PSD. That's specifically geared for Photoshop. And we're going to click OK. Save. Let me save that on the desktop. Save. There we go. All right, so if we look over, we'll notice our background is locked. And we're going to leave it locked. And we're going to start off by creating the first bits of information. And that'll be A through Z. So I'm going to click my cursor so it's flashing. See, I can go to my Move tool, deselect that if I wanted to. If I don't like that layer, I can throw it out. See, here I have layer 1. I'm going to throw that in the garbage and go back. Click on T for type, the very basic type, and just click once. And then I'm going to do the uppercase. So I'm going to click on caps lock and then just do A, B, C, D, E, F. All right, once you have that alphabet typed out, I'm noticing right now that it's all in gray. And I want it to be in black. So if I go all the way down my toolbox over here, I'm noticing that this top little box is in gray, the top swatch. And what I'm going to do is come over to my layers palette. Now let me pull this layers out so you can see it. There's the layers palette isolated. I broke it away from these tables over here. Okay, I'm going to take it, drop it back in, pull it back out. They're actually called frames, not tables. These are the frames. So you can snap them in and out and rearrange them in any order you want. So if I want to get that highlighted up top, the A through Z, I just double click the T so it's all highlighted. And then I'm going to come over here to my, actually, let me go up here to color. You'll have this color ramp. Now we see this color picker. I'm going to click the black way down in the far right bottom corner. And then from there, to get it to be selected, you always want to go back to home base, which is move, that move tool right up there. And there we are. So we have A through Z, and then we have this layer right here. And we'll actually see, you can see A, B, C, D, all the way through Z on that layer. I can turn it on and off. I can turn my background on and off. So if you turn your background off, you'll see transparent checker boxes. And I'm going to leave it locked in this case. All right, so next step is I want to do A through Z lowercase. So what I'm going to do is just practice making layers, come over here and click. And in this case, I don't want to have my caps lock on. So I'm going to click that, make sure the light's off, and just repeat what I did before. So now note, I'm not going to click anything right now. Look over at my layers palette here, which is this frame, you'll notice we have the bottom layer right here, which is A through Z, all uppercase. And at this very second, it still says layer 1, and it's underlined. There's this baseline going underneath that string of lowercase A through Z font. So I'm going to go, right when I click the Move tool, at the very top of the toolbox, that's the very second that it's going to become named A through Z lowercase. Watch this. Click. See, there it is. That's when it actually becomes permanent, when it makes it happen. So now I have two layers. This layer and the layer above. So when you're designing, you always want to put all of your ingredients down first. Get all the elements down. Just like a jigsaw puzzle. You have all the pieces of your puzzle that you want to sort of organize, and then from there you start putting it together. Now we need 0 through 9. Now I'm noticing something. Right now my font is Century Gothic Bold. And I want to have that in Garamond. So I'm going to go to my first layer, double click, go up to the area where I can choose a font, which is up here in the options bar. Right below Edit, Image, Layer, and Type, you'll see this area where you can go in, click this little arrow, and actually select the font you want to use. So you can either type it in manually, so there's Garamond Regular, or you can click and scroll through so I can find it. And that's kind of neat. When you highlight the font, it actually changes, gives you a quick glimpse of what the font looks like. So where's Garamond? Let me see, A, B, C, D, F, G, Garamond Regular. There we go. So now I'm going to go, and I think I'll re-highlight this and do this as Garamond Bold, just to give it a little bit more power, a little bit more impact. Now lowercase, same thing. Right now it's Century Gothic Bold, and I'm going to highlight that and type in Garamond. Let's see, Garamond. Let's see. Let me do it manually. Oh, let me see, oh, there we go. Found it. It's a Garamond Regular, and then right to the left of where the font option is, right below Select and Filter, there's another box where you can choose Bold. And then next to that, you actually have point size if you want to explore changing the size of the font, which is measured in points. I can highlight that and just line up all my information. Next step, 0 through 9. So I'm going to make my third layer. So far I have background, layer 1 with the uppercase, layer 2 with the lowercase. Now we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then when I go to move it, it'll lock in. Okay, as I put together the different elements, I'm going to sort of space them out so I can see what I have to deal with. And to do that, it's always nice to make sure you have your rulers turned on. See, View, Show Rulers. If I want to turn my rulers off, I just click on Rulers again, and that little check will disappear. And that's the case with everything. The check essentially states that it's on. And then from there, I can go to my Move tool, move the little arrow right on top of the ruler, and just drag, click, hold down, drag over. See, I can bring a guideline over like that to help me organize, have everything flush left. Now I want to type out Garamond. Garamond. Make sure you spell the right way. I'll make this. I'm going to go to Escape on my keyboard. Double click. Highlight the point size up top below View. Just make that a lot bigger. Because eventually I'm going to want to have contrast and scale. A lot of contrast and scale. Big, small, medium, and minute, all the way down to 8 points. Now I want to type out Claude Garamond. So I'm going to go down to here. Up. Now I have a great big cursor. It's at 111 points. That's what I just did. I'm going to bring that down to 18. Okay, Claude Garamond. Pull that out, make it a little bit bigger. Just click on the Shift key, and you should be able to pull it out and keep the height and the width the same, in the same proportion. And then the next element, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can click these layers. You'll see each time you click on a layer, if we go up top, we have the transform box turned on. So right below type and select, you'll see show transform controls. If you click that on, so the check mark is showing, and also have auto select checked. Auto select is right below edit and image. What will essentially happen is when you click on that layer, click on that element, it's going to go to that layer automatically over here on the layers palette, this layers frame. But if you turn off auto select, it won't do that. Then you have to actually go over and manually choose that layer. I can also turn off show transform tools, see, and at that point nothing will happen. Or I can go to auto select, turn off show transform tools, and then you won't have that box going around. I typically like to have the show transform tools, which is non-printable. It's sort of an invisible box that allows you to pull the font out in different ways. But what we don't want to do in this project is distort the proportion of the font like that. We want to make sure we're holding the Shift key down and locking the height and width so we can maintain the integrity of the original design. Designed in the 16th century. All right, so let's go down here. Designed in 16th century. And then we need some sort of historical overview. Now, an easy way to do this is you can just go to like Google Chrome or Safari. In this case, I'm going to click Google Chrome and say, do a search on Garamond font history. It'll probably bring up something from Wikipedia. Let's see. Claude Garamond, font designer of Garamond. I'm going to try something other than Wikipedia for this demo. Let's see. So we have some font. In this case, we're just going to grab some of the info. Let's see, Claude Garamond, born in 1480. And I'm going to bring that all the way down to here. Copy it. Minimize. And a lot of times what I'll do, because that's an HTML, what I'll do is I'll bring open my email and I will click on a new email page, and then I'll just click off the HTML. So right here I have format text. Instead of HTML, I'm going to do plain text and just get rid of all that. And this is even a nice area where you can actually edit too, right within your email box. 1510, let's see, I'm going to take the whole thing for now, just for the sake of this demo. Minimize, minimize, and then I want to put that block of text in like a vertical column of some sort. So I'm going to go to T for type and just pull out a box like that to sort of define the area that I want the type to be within. Right now it's at 18 points. I'm going to bring it down to like 11. And I'm also noticing my cursor is clicking within the middle, because if I go up top here to the options bar, way up top, I see that the center option is highlighted. We have flush right, centered, or flush left, centered, flush right. I'm going to go flush left. And then from there, make sure the cursor, click your mouse, make sure the cursor is flashing. And go edit, paste, or Control V, keyboard shortcut. Now this case is very small. I'm going to bring that up a little bit bigger. And then also notice how close the lines are together. That's because of something called leading. Leading is the distance from one baseline to another. So let me zoom way up. So from here, from there to there is really the leading. We want to sort of narrow that space, or make the space a lot greater. So I'm going to do something called a baseline shift. Now let me just take these guidelines out of here. So I'm going to highlight it, and then go to Window, Character. Click on Character. And let me bring the character right over here and take it and pull out that, pull it down here. So under Character, we have an option. There is A above A. You'll see like an A over A, uppercase, with an arrow going up and down. And that's just showing that distance where the arrow goes from the bottom baseline to the next baseline. That's the leading. That's the shift. So we're going to basically shift the baselines. So you can highlight, and then you can either move them manually, go to 14 point, that makes it a lot greater. There's 11 point, or you can highlight the number and just use your up and down arrows. Now let's see, I'm going to do it like this for now. Move it up. And you can't see what I'm doing here. I'm pulling it out. With some of the newer versions of Photoshop, that will work, but oftentimes it'll distort the font. So what you don't want to do is distort the font. You want the font to move within the box. So I can pull it out from the corner, and that'll keep the height and the width proportional. That'll make it bigger. But I want to see all the font in there. So just to review the step again, I'm going to go, or I want to see all of the information. I'm missing information. I'm just going to delete this layer. See, I can turn that layer on and off. I'm going to take it, throw it into the garbage, and just show you this again. So in this case, I'm going to go back to my T for type and pull out a larger area, and then try the same thing again. Edit, paste. Okay, so there's all that. Go from 18 down to 12, and then switch the leading from 7 points to about like that. So that's essentially all the ingredients, except at the very end you'll have to add some production information at the bottom, which will include your name, the name of the project, the software you're using, in this case Photoshop CC, and then the date. All right, now we're ready to make the design. So here's the one example I created. The one I'm about to demonstrate will probably be totally different from this one. But before we can take all of our ingredients and put it together to make this design, we've got to first explore the rule of thirds and also have a better understanding of what you're seeing here. So, with the design we create, you need to take a letter, or maybe even two letters, that sort of serve as a large monumental element that sort of pulls us in as the area to emphasize. So here we have this design that was a project from a few semesters ago. Emphasis, that's the area that pulls you in. So you've got to decide what letter. It could be something symbolic, could be something visual that you sort of enlarge to make the centerpiece of your design. The next thing you want to have within your design is a feeling of balance. So here we have emphasis. Your eye goes from emphasis to balance. We've got to figure out how we can balance out the design. So in this case, maybe Garamond, or maybe this whole area down here balances out the top, or the right column of information balances out the visual weight that's on the left. All of this is done within thirds. Now let me bring out the thirds box. If I go to my crop tool, I should be able to see that. Well, let's see, let me pull that out manually. So when you design, you want to be designing and be thinking about moving the elements all throughout the page. And the rule of thirds states that you don't want to have your main emphasis right smack in the middle. Otherwise, you'll have a static design. Typically, you put your emphasis or your focal point near one of these major intersections, like here on the bottom right, or maybe here on the bottom left. In this case, I have it upper left, or it could be the upper right. And you don't want to have your focal point running off the edge, or off the bottom, or off the top. You want to have it central. So rule of thirds is key. In this example from a while back, we can see your eye goes from emphasis to balance and then the contrast. So within your design, you want to have all those ideas. You want to have an area that's emphasized. You want to have a sense of visual balance. Obviously, alignment is going to be a major theme. Everything I'm going to do within my design is going to be aligned. This will be aligned with that. The block of text will be aligned with the top of the G, and so on. So alignment is key. Contrast and scale, contrast and value, contrast and placement, and then repetition. There'll be a lot of repetition, and hopefully visual flow. Hopefully you'll create a design where your eyes are allowed to navigate from A to B to C, and so on. So in a successful design, you have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary meaning emphasis, secondary balance, tertiary contrast. 3 places. You'll see that sequence in billboards too. And then the third element will always lead you back to emphasis, the main center of attention. So that is key. Before we design, we have to understand how we can apply these ideas to make our design as successful as possible. Okay, let's begin the actual design. So we're back at the page where we've created all of these layers. Let me move this layers palette up. And so we have the layer. Let me turn these on and off. The layer of history. I can double click that to highlight it. I can turn it on and off. I can go to my select tool, my move tool. I can show you how these layers can be turned on and off. Garamond layer, all the numbers, and even the background layer, which is white. I'm going to turn it on and off. Now I want to bring the rule of thirds guidelines out here and start moving elements around. And you can go to the crop tool, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down on the toolbox. Oh, by the way, with this toolbox, you see these two little arrows way up top? They point towards the right. They're side by side. If you want to have your toolbox like too wide, so it's not so tall, you can set it up that way, or you can go like the tall tower format. It's really up to you and how you want to organize it. I'll use it both ways just so we can see the possibilities. So if I do the tower, 4 down, I have the crop tool. See up here, way up top on the options bar, right below File, Edit, and Image, it says W by H by Resolution. That's the first one. Now if I go to Ratio, R-A-T-I-O, one above, I'll have the golden ratio. I'll have these the rule of thirds guidelines out. And that's sort of a nice option, because then what I can do is go to my move tool, which is way up top. Now I'm just going to go to crop. Oh, let me go back and try that again. Okay, so go to the ratio. Okay, I'm going to go back to the W, and then I can go to my move tool and actually pull these guidelines down. Actually, I don't even have to go to my move tool. Right now I'm still on the crop tool. See how that's highlighted? But if I go over to my ruler, I can pull these guidelines out just like that. Now let's say you don't want these guidelines. You can go to Show, go to View, up to the options bar, go to View, Show, and then there's Guides. I can turn the guides off like that, and I can even go to Escape on my keyboard to get rid of that rule of thirds grid. So once again, I can click on the crop tool, go all the way up top to this little area, far left-hand corner of the options bar, which is up top. So now I have all these options that are connected with the crop tool. There's clear. I can choose different measurements, which doesn't really apply to what we're doing here, and go to original ratio, and all of a sudden you'll see these lines appear. You'll see this grid appear, and I don't even have to go to my move tool. I can just go right up to the ruler. Make sure you have the ruler turned on. Go to View, Show Ruler, View Ruler, Show Ruler, and then I can pull down these guides. Crop. Okay, let me do that again. Okay, once again, I'm going to go to my crop tool, click on the crop tool, and then go from ratio way up top to original, and then I can go to my ruler and just pull out. What happens, like right now I'm on the crop tool setting, and I'm going to leave it there and just go right up to the ruler, and I can pull down these guidelines. Right now they're cyan. What I was going to say before, you could actually go, well, not in this stage. Let me show you in a second. If I go to the Move tool and go to Crop, okay, there's those guidelines. They're all cyan. Let me zoom in. And using that Crop tool allows you to have that grid there, and you can just drag them right over top so they're aligned. But let's say you want to change the color of those lines. We should be able to go to Preferences. Let's see, File, Edit, File, Edit, 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 Edit. Where is that? Preferences is way down here in the bottom. Boy, they keep moving it. So you're at Edit, way down in the bottom. So you go to Edit, Preferences, and then we go to Guides, Grid, and Slices. And over there, you have an option to change the color of the guide. So if we don't want to use cyan, let's say we want bright red, since it really pops, we can use that. So I think I'll use the bright red. And then from there, we have our elements. And I'm going to highlight a letter. Let's highlight that G. So an easy way to pull out a G, first of all, let's move all the elements closer. Move everything down to right about there. And then take the T for type and go over to the Garamond. See how that baseline appears, and then all of a sudden the cursor appears to the left, and then take it and drag over that G, and then I can go to Copy, and I should be able to actually paste that same G over here. There we go. So that's one way to do it. See, there's that G. And then you could essentially hold down the Shift key and pull out that G really large like that. But in order to do that, you need to have the Show Transform tool selected. And then you want to make sure you hold down the Shift key. If you don't hold down the Shift key and just pull out the bottom, see how it's going to get all distorted? So you got to hold down the Shift and pull from the corner. And then after you select it, that layer will be labeled G. The other way to do it, let's say you don't want to do all that copying and pasting stuff, you could just go to the T for type and re-type a G, highlight it, then go up to the options bar way up top where it says 12 points. Let me zoom in so it's so small. Using my magnifying glass to zoom in. So I could highlight that G and then go up top and just manually choose like 72 or highlight the 72 right up top in the options bar and just use the up arrow. Now let me zoom out. I'm going to hold my Alt and zoom out. Let's continue on with this technique. So highlight it and just use the arrow to go big, 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 big. Or you can highlight that and just go 300 points. And now it's real big. So in this design, I think I'm going to put the large G somewhere over here on the upper right. So as I was saying, with the rule of thirds, you want that focal point, that area that's emphasized, the dominant area, that center of interest, to be right near that major intersection. So I'm going to put it there. Now here's a tricky thing. When you get here, let's say you want to select Garamond. Well, it's letting me select. Sometimes what it'll do is it'll conflict with a large element and you won't be able to get what's underneath. But in this case, it's working. But let's say it was conflicting, you could take the G and just turn that layer off temporarily by clicking on the eyeball, which would allow you to, like, for example, take this group of text, bring it up here, and then go to my T for type, and maybe click right after the L. Let me zoom up so we can see this. So I'm taking the cursor, clicking right after the L, and just going to enter on my keyboard, and then it returns. Now look at what's going on here. It's like overlapping because of the leading, the baseline shift, and then also up top on the options bar, it's centered. Now I want to click flush left, like that. But before I do that, I have to have both highlighted. So let's highlight them, flush left. Okay, now they're both flush left, but they're like totally overlapping. Highlight again, and go find my character box, which is right here. Remember, with the character box, we can go to Window, turn off the character box, Window, turn on the character box. See, Window, Character. Then you have the A over the A, which I demonstrated this before. Use my up arrow to bring the leading up. Like right now, it's up to 33. It started off like at 12 points. Now it's up. So my idea here is to just use the return to sort of build some sort of column with equal, well, build like a block, flush left. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out. So I've got that. Then I can turn back on my G. So now I'm able to work with this unit of design. So I have that. I might take that unit, hold down my shift key, and pull it out really big. Now I have this. I think with the smaller ones, what I'm going to do is experiment with making these much, or the lowercase. I think I'm going to make them smaller in point size. Let's highlight and try something where I repeat these down below somehow. Let's see, take that, click those, go flush left, then the same technique. I'll bring those down like that. So maybe, well, I still got to play with it. Maybe I'll just put these up here for now, all one block. Then I'll have to eventually do something with this, and then something with this. So it's a constant process of moving elements around. I like to really think about the idea of alignment and how I can align, like I can have my move tool. There's auto select up top. You can select like one element and move it, or you can start from the top area right here where it's empty white space. Let me zoom in so you can see that. Hold down my shift key to make the, or space bar. I'm holding down my space bar to make the hand appear, and then I can move the page all around like that. But what I wanted to show you is I can go to this move tool and actually group all those layers together. So now look at these two layers are grouped. This by sort of selecting across. The other way to select is like select that one, hold down your shift key, and then click on the other layer. And the point I want to make is I'm always trying to figure out a way to align elements. Like for example, I'm going to pull down this guideline here, align the top of the uppercase G with the top of that cluster. Now next, maybe I'll explore just putting this Garamond over here, flush right. I mean, this is a very simple design. And then, see, I can bring that guideline over. And the idea here is to sort of align that with this element. Now maybe I'll take Garamond, Claude Garamond, I'll make it smaller. And at some point I have to extract the quote. I haven't done that yet. Here's 16th century. Maybe I'll put, I'll put that there for now. So this design has a ways to go. I'm just sort of like sneaking up on it. One important idea with design, I mean, not only the rule of thirds, but negative space, empty white space is golden. So I'm looking at this grid, like empty space down here in the lower right. How can I get that to resonate with this empty space, the empty space up in between with inside the uppercase G, then way up top. So you want to try to get a nice distribution of negative space against positive space. I mean, I could leave this design the way it is right now. Probably, if I wanted to resolve this design, I mean, it's awfully simple. I could take that block of historical text, highlight it, and maybe go flush right, and then play with some sort of alignment factor, where I put that maybe here, where I line that with that. The problem with this technique, flush right looks good if you have like a little bit of text, but then you get into the whole problem of readability, because we read from right to left, and you keep having to like go into these little valleys. It becomes really difficult. So let's junk that idea. So I'm going to highlight that, go back to flush left. So we're back, and it looks like I didn't save my work. Boy, that's a classic mistake. You always got to remember to back up your work and go save so you don't lose everything you did. That's okay, though. We'll repeat everything we just did. So I've got to start putting together this design, have all of the ingredients on all different layers over here. So I have my layers frame, layers palette, layers table. All of these layers, I can turn them on and off. And I want to get the guidelines back, the grid. So I'm going to go to my crop tool. Let's see, I will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Or if I'm on the 2-tier, side by side, it's third one down on the left. Click that crop tool, and then I can go from racial to, let's see, original. So if we go up to the options bar, right below File, Edit and Image, you have all these different options. And I'm just going to switch options. Then I can just go over to my ruler. I don't have to go to my Move tool. I can just go directly to my ruler, and all of a sudden an arrow will appear, and that is going to let me pull over a guideline. See how I pulled that guideline over? Now, let's say I don't like where I put the guideline. I can always go to Window, actually View, and then there's Clear Guidelines. But notice how I don't have the option to clear a guideline right now. It's not like available. What you have to do in this case, if you want to get rid of that guideline, is just click Escape. And then I should be able to go back. Yep, now I can clear the guides. Guides are gone. So now I have to go back and try what I did again. So go from original to back to ratio. It's just like you just have to switch options, and then all of a sudden that grid will appear. So let's see. I put that there. Nope. I did the same thing again. Now let's see. If I want to move that guide, there's a way to do that too. See, Window, View, Lock, Guides, Rulers, Extras, Lock. Okay, so let's go to Escape again and clear that guide. So many different little subtleties with Photoshop. It's amazing. All right, so there we go. Go back. I'm going to pull that guideline right over. There it is. There's my red guideline. Oh, went too high on that one. Got to go right to the ruler. Go right up to the ruler. Push down on your mouse. There we go. Then at that point, I can just go enter on my keyboard. It just crops perfectly. All right. So we got all these elements. Now I have to set up my focal point, the center of interest. And as I was showing you before, I want to use the G. Now I'm just going to go to T for type, horizontal type tool, and just press down. I can either press in front or behind. Now let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. So I'm at the T for type, and if I click, see there's my little cursor. See how there's a baseline underneath? I can click on the right side or the left side and actually highlight it. Hold down with your mouse and just drag. So here I'm dragging from the right to the left, left to the right to highlight it. And then from there, I'm going to go up to Edit on the Options bar and just go to Copy. Now, I'm going to go down to the Hand tool right here, and that's going to allow me to just move over to this area within the design. And then go back to the T for type, click once so I see the cursor flashing, then go to Edit, Paste. So now I've put that G on its own layer. Now let me zoom back out, because now we want to start setting up this design. Hold down my space bar. Oh, that's so far out. Now if I was zoomed up like this, I could hold my space bar and move the entire page all over the place. So let's see, in this example, let me try putting that great big G on the bottom third. So I'm going to move this over here, move this over here. Now it's a big mess. Move that right there, move that right there, and just grab that G. See, I have it up top. I have auto select clicked on. Notice how I'm mentioning the same things over and over and over. Hopefully they make sense at some point. Go to Escape, hold down my Shift key. Oh, Escape again. Shift, grab it from the very corner. And I'm going to pull that up so that becomes really dominant. Let's see, in this one I'll put that G right there. All right, now, right now the G, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 down from the top. I'm going to take that layer, press down with my index finger so it's highlighted, and just put it at the top. Just so I know that that's going to be the main focal element. So right there near that intersection. And then from there, now look at how this stuff, it's like, what do I do with it? Where do I put all these elements? Well, I'm going to think about scale, placement, and balance. Obviously, we have repetition. There's a lot of repeating going on. But I've got to play with scale and also the visual hierarchy. Obviously, we're going to look at the G first. And I think what I want us to look at next is the name of the font. So in this example, let's see, I'm just going to turn off some of these layers to make things a little bit easier. Let's see, click that, see the auto select, turn the eyeball off, just so it's not as confusing. Okay, so there's Garamond. Maybe I'll leave the date that it was created turned on. So I have the thirds. Now in this example, I want to take the Garamond and actually rotate it. Maybe put it on a vertical instead of a horizontal. So the way to do that, well, there's a few ways. We have the Show Transform option clicked on. I can go to the very corner. See how the arrows sort of curve? Right now they're straight. They're curved right there, and they're curved right here. I'm going to go to the corner, so they're curved. And I just pushed down with my index finger and selected it. And notice what happens up here in the options bar. Everything changes. So here, right below Window and Help, there's actually a little acute angle, and it says 0.00. I could highlight that and just manually enter 90 degrees. See? It goes like that. And if I want to go the other way, I could do 180. If I wanted to... Oh, 180 is that way. Now let's try 90. 90 that way. Or I can go to the corner and just take my mouse and rotate it like this. So I can take it, if I hold down my Shift key, it locks at a 45. Or I can go on a vertical. So I'm going to go like this and try to put this right along this guideline right here. At some point I'll align it. Alright, so there, grab it right there. Now I'm going to slowly turn on my other layers. So this is a slightly different approach. It's a little bit less confusing when you turn layers on and off. Okay, now I'm going to do Claude Garamond and maybe make that a little bit smaller. Double click to highlight, go up to my point size, and right below View in the options bar, right now it's at 54, I'm going to highlight it and go to my downward arrow to just bring it down in point size a little bit. Because I really want to play with contrast and scale. I want to essentially have every element a different size. And that's one way of controlling what the viewer will look at first, second, third. So maybe I will go, you know what? I'm going to lock this in right about here. And put this right down below the G. So right now I'm playing with the idea of alignment. I want to align the D at the end of Garamond with the front edge of that big G. And then I also want to align the bottom baseline of Claude Garamond with the side of the big G. So let me zoom in so you can see that. So I'm already trying to align elements. So yeah, right here, align that with that. Now let me zoom out. Now I'll turn on my next element. So there's that block of text. Now what I think I want to do in this case, okay, this block of text could go right here, but it's just taking up too much space. I want to have it more of a vertical column that can maybe align, maybe fit in right up there, or maybe over here. See, if I go like this, it changes the proportion of it. It distorts it. So what I'm going to do is take it. Here's another little trick. Double click the T. See, there's the layer that it's on. Double click that T so it's highlighted. And just go to Edit, Cut, way up top. I've just taken it away. And basically, I'm going to take that layer and throw it in the garbage. So I edit, cut. It's still in the memory. And then I'm going to take and create a little area to pull out the column. So I'm going to go from here to right here. This is where I want my column block. And then I'm going to pull it out from here, maybe down to about here. So it fits in, it aligns exactly with the width of that great big G. And then I'm going to click on the flush left. Right now it's at 18 points. I'm going to bring it down to 14. Let's just see what happens. And then go to Edit, Paste. Click on my Move tool, and then use my up arrow. So now I've got more, it's more of like this, it aligns. So I'm using alignment where there's like this invisible connection. Now I think I'm going to do Justify. Double click and actually justify it. Now I've got to go get my character box. Go to Window, all the way down to here we have Character. And then I have Paragraph. I'm going to look for Paragraph, which is that top tab right next to the Character tab. And then Justify. I'm going to try the first Justify. Just like that. I mean, that's force Justify, but it throws the top and the bottom way out of whack. So most of it's justified except for this last piece. So that is a possibility. So now I have that 16th century. Maybe I will put, well, let me leave that there for now. Oh, edit, bring that back. Now let's just turn on another layer. Okay, now we have the numbers. Maybe I'll put those, maybe I'll put those on a vertical and sort of align them with Garamond. Use my rotate tool. Now you see how I'm not getting it to constrain? Let's see, there's a 45. There's a 90. I can always go to Escape and go back. So it's selected. Click on the layer. Get the rotate. As soon as I go to the corner and I click on the rotate, I'll have the options bar for that 90. There we are. So I can go this way or grab it and go this way. I think I'm going to go this way. Now let me zoom in on this. Try it again. Cancel. Okay, don't apply. Let me zoom in. Hold down my space bar. Go to the corner. Press down with my mouse and just rotate it. Hold down my Shift key to lock it at a 90. And then I can move it down. And I think in this example, maybe I will put that, line that right there. Or maybe it could go the other way. We'll try it this way for now. And I'm going to make that leading really tight and have those lines really close. Okay, let me zoom out. So as I was saying before, you want to have a nice distribution of empty space, which is the negative, contrasting, working with the positive space, which is occupied, the black. You want to keep from having things look overly crowded, and there should be some sort of visual logic. Okay, now we have A through Z. Okay, let me go to rotate that. What can we do to make... I like to have variety, contrast. And notice right now, we have this block, and we have this block, and then Garamond is a long string. It's like a long block of information, and so is this. So let me go... I want to put this on... I want to make the A through Z more into a block of information, so it can maybe hold a space in a more interesting way. So let's go to, you know what? Let's go to Window History. This is something I haven't showed yet. So I'm on the History palette, and I can basically go backwards in time. Okay, there's everything I did. I'm going to go right to this point. And then take that, put it up there for now, click on my T for type, and just put this on a few different levels. Now let me highlight all that and then go to the character box and work on a baseline shift. Now where did my character box go? If everything's lost, you can't find where you are, you can always go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, and it puts everything back where it was. And then from there I can go to Window, down the ladder to Character, and here we are, Character. And then let me bring this over here so we can see it. And then I'm going to double click on the T so it's highlighted. And then we have the A over the A. This is like the 10th time I've mentioned this. And bring that down with the up and down arrows. And then up here, way up top options bar, I'm going to go flush left and then see if I can do another return. So now I've created sort of like this block. And if I wanted to, I could make that a little bit of a taller block. Maybe spread the leading apart a little bit more. And even experiment with centered, but I like flush right for now. Actually, I may do flush, no, instead of flush left, I may do flush right so I have an edge. Because then that, look at this, I can align this, creates an interesting little unit. So I'm getting this to be aligned with the bottom of that, and it creates like one shape. See, that connects to that, connects to that. So it's more, there's more visual continuity. And then maybe I'll put, well, that could go right there for now. We'll put that right there. You know, actually in this design, I like having this negative space empty up here. Now, what else do we have? Oh yeah, the uppercase. So we don't have to have the uppercase and lowercase in the same area within the design. We just want to make an interesting design that sort of showcases the font. Now let's see, there's that. Now notice how I go to try to select the uppercase letters, but then I'm grabbing the big G. In that case, I'm just going to go to the eyeball and turn it off. Then grab that, play around with the same idea, and maybe put this on 2 levels. See, my leading is way too tight. Highlight it, click on character up here, and then we have the A over A. Right now it's at 7 points. I'm going to go to the downward arrow, then go flush left, and I want to put this on 3 levels, and then maybe tweak it a little bit. I wonder if we can make it a perfect. Let's see, if we go to here, put the S there, bring this back. Okay, that's possible. Let's just see what happens with this. Now I'll turn that big G back on again. Oh. Now one way to get around this is select it, and then you can use your arrows on your keyboard to move it, and then turn on the G. And now we can sort of see what's going on. Now in this case, what I want to do flush right and play with the idea of aligning. Oh, I did the same thing again. I'm going to align this right here. So everything has this nice clean edge right there. And then bring it up. So right there, and then bring that G over there. Maybe bring the G a little bit higher. Okay, bring that up again. Actually, I could put that right there. So this is, you know, now your eye goes from the big G to Garamond, then up around, and you have this visual flow that sort of bounces around from here to here to here and back around down here. So I sort of like this negative space here. I'm just wondering in this design, if we were to take and turn off all these guidelines, we would probably have a little bit too much negative space over here compared to here. So I think I'm going to balance that out. So here's another trick. I can go to my move tool, and right now I have the auto select turned on, and literally grab everything together like that, and then use my arrows on my keyboard to move it over. So I want to try to get more of an evenness around like that. Now if I take, let me turn off all these guidelines. Let me zoom in. I mean, this is not the most interesting design. It's just like real simple, but it does follow the rules. Yep, off. So for me, I rather have a little bit more breathing room between that G, just like that. I mean, there could be something up here, and maybe even this Garamond could go up here. Just leave all, actually I like that better. I like this negative space there. Or maybe Claude Garamond could go on a vertical. I mean, that's the idea of thumbnails. Let me show you one more thing. I mean, I could put this down here, and let's say, hypothetically, we thought we were done. And we go to save. I could actually go to File, Save As, and go type design number 2, save it, and this is a nice way to do thumbnails. And then maybe put this up, put this up here. Now let's just try this. I've got an idea. I'm going to make Claude Garamond a lot larger, but on 2 levels. All right, so Claude Garamond, and then I'm going to do flush right, and then pull it out even bigger. Not too big though, and then bring that right about here. I want to align that all like that. And this frees up this space down here. So we sort of have this tower. And then I could bring the designed in 16th century a little bit closer. So this becomes like one block of information. And then this becomes a block. And then this becomes a block. I mean, this could even be here. Let's put that right there, or that could be in there. So let's say we did this. Now we've got design 2. Let me end on this note. Then I could pull that out. See how that just snapped in? We have this tab. I can pull that tab out, then go to my Alt key, bring that down, zoom in like that, and then actually go to File, Open, and go to Type Design 1. See how these sort of snap together? I can pull them apart. And then you can compare one design with another. So I actually like the one on the left more. I like the tower, the way that all configures, and the way that space sort of staggers. All right, that's it. All right, there's something I forgot. I need to extract some sort of quotation. So let's look at this history. Probably I should edit this history down. There's a little bit too much in there. But let's just see. Died. Founder, publish, punch. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll just use that last one since it's such a historical font. His fonts have been widely copied and are still produced and in use today. I'll copy that, highlight that, and just go to Edit, Copy. Where can I put this little bit of information? Maybe. Okay, for now I'm just going to click. See how that G gets in the way? I'm going to turn that off and just click down here. But right now it's like at 111 points. So I'm going to bring it down to 14. So go up to the options bar to type, then go to edit, paste. So now I have this little quotation. And maybe, I'm not sure where I want to put this. Maybe up top here. I'll just make it real subtle. It'll be like a secondary bit of information. And I'm going to put it on 2 lines like that and just align it with the rest of everything else. Flush left. And maybe double click, and instead of bold, I will do italics. And then go a little bit larger. Like that. So just add a little bit of subtle contrast. And maybe I'll put the quote underneath everything. So let's turn off the show transform. Let's grab that. Oh. Hold down my shift key. Select both layers. Let's bring that up a little bit. In fact, maybe I'll try to align the top of this with the top of this paragraph, and then put this right under here, but a little bit smaller. It's like a little unit. And then let's turn that G on again. Let's just see how this works. So I have that with that. In this case, I'm not going to align the bottom of that G with this. I want to have that little jog. Let's just pull this up like that. All right. Okay, that works pretty well. Zoom out. I mean, I could keep working on this, and I probably will to make it more interesting, but this is good enough for now. Now let me grab that. I'm going to bring that down a little bit. There we go, a little bit more negative space in here. What I do like visually is this bit of negative space right here, and the way that comes around. And then this negative space here, sort of like this tower. Now if I had some overlapping, it would be even more visually dynamic, and even throw an angle in here. Just a little quick. Let's say I wanted to play with another one. I could go File, Save As, and go Design 3. So I still have what I did. I could take this entire design and actually put it at an angle like that. Put it at an angle. Like maybe every element at an angle except for maybe 1 or 2 elements. Let's just see what happens. See, that looks a little bit odd. Well, there's that. And maybe take the G and make that the stabilizing element. So that could be straight. I mean, it doesn't quite work to me, but it's a possibility to explore, just breaking the grid. I mean, it is a little bit more visually dynamic. So when you do this angular type of thing, you play with a 45, but then you have something that is straight up and down to sort of serve as a stabilizer. So I mean, I guess this works to some degree. Let me save that. Sometimes you got to zoom way out. Let's just look at these side by side. So there's that. And go to Open to pull that one out, then zoom out. Well, it's a possibility. If this were for an actual client, I may show the client a number of options and just see what they like. I guess when I zoom out, I do like the subtle angle. Let's look at this one. All right.